Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel and blog. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me for another tutorial. Today the tutorial that I'm sharing was created on my Facebook page. It was a live interactive video tutorial with people commenting and me commenting back in return. If you would like to make any comments on this video, I welcome them and will always respond to any of your questions and comments. All of the sizes, measurements, and the supplies that I've used are listed in the video description. I hope you enjoy this video tutorial. Thanks for joining me today for a Facebook Live. I'm Jenny Hall. And while we're waiting for people to gather, I would like to share some cards with you that I received. I belong to a group of Random Acts of Kindness. It's a card group for people that want to send a card for no particular reason at all, just to say hi and lend some support. So I'd like to share some of those cards with you. This is a card that was created by Elle Maynard, and she's in Australia. And this is the cutest card. It looks like she took quite a bit of time to figure out all of the details here, and I just love it, and it's wonderful. Thank you, Elle. It's really nice. And then the words inside were very supportive and very nice as well. So thank you so much for choosing to pick me and send a card. I really appreciate it. And I have another card here. This card is amazing as well. This is from Tori, and Tori is in Canada. And I can see here that she's used the watercolor paper, and she's also used my favorite Stampin' Up color, Early Espresso. And look at the work that she has made on these squares. This just is beautiful. Well done, Tori. It's beautiful. I love what you've done here. And this is gold. You can tell that this here is embossed. Very nice. Nice work. I love getting cards from other crafters, and these are some perfect examples. They're just gorgeous. So if you're joining, then when you come in, if you'd like to type and say hello, then I can say hello back to you. And if you choose not to, that's okay as well. Now here is a card that I received from one of my team members. If I can get it out here. Isn't this gorgeous? This card is from Diana, and I love the color combination that she's used. This is just absolutely beautiful. And this is like a little bit of a silver on a little sticky, like a glue dot. It's just beautiful. I love this. This is so pretty, Diana. Thank you so much. I really like it. And I have one more card to share. Isn't this great? This is from Robin. She's also one of my team members. And I love how she's tied in all the colors together, and she's got some texture on the side and some glitter paper on the side as well. And really nice design. Good job, Robin. I love this. Very nice. And the words inside on both of those cards were beautiful. And we've got some white here on the back. So if you could see that, the difference of where the embossing of the paper is. Fantastic. All really nice cards. Hi, Kathy, from my neighbor in Ohio. I'm in New Jersey, so we're not too far away from each other. So I also want to share a couple of flops with you guys. I have I get a lot of wonderful feedback about my cards, but not all of them work out to where I'm happy with them. And I was playing with High Tide stamp set today just to get a little bit of a different look on High Tide stamp set. So here's some ideas that I had for almost like a photo negative. This is stamped on just white cardstock with Night of Navy. And this is a piece of white cardstock that I actually took the stamp pad like this, and I poked it down, pressed it firmly but not too hard, and brought it back up. And then I have done white embossing on top of this. And I really wasn't happy with the way either one of these cards came out. And that's okay. Not every card's going to be a winner. They could be flops. And that is makes us appreciate the cards that we do like all the more better. So I was thinking that I would use one of the ovals as a cutout spotlight kind of vignette. And I do like how this looks. So I had the evolution of a card to actually turn this from a navy and white to gray tones and white. So you never know where you're going to end up with a card, and I'll give you a sneak peek of what the finished product looked like. So keeping in mind that I had an idea in my head of how I wanted to have the card look. There's a hand towel in my bathroom that has lighthouse on it, and I really like the way that hand towel looks. So I wanted to try to get something that would envision a little bit of what I had in my mind, and oftentimes that does not always come out. So here's how the card evolved. And this card will be on the What Will You Stamp Challenge Monday after next. So this is a very fast sneak peek, but from this to wanting to have a spotlight or a vignette to this is how I evolved in this card. So you never know where you're going to get on a card. If you don't like where you're going with it, then just keep trying until you have something that you like that works for you. And I have some little seagulls in the back on the inside, and I think it's a cute card. It goes well. It has that mini trim that I'm so fond of, and I've used some of the mini trim pieces to fill in the little windows that are also circular on the lighthouse. So you can look for this card to come up in another week and a half or so. There will be a video, and it's interesting to me how we get from plan A to plan Z, and sometimes it's a little bit of a rough road in between. So today I'm going to be creating a card with this panel. Does anybody recognize this panel from, I believe it was last week's video? I actually created it a couple of weeks ago, and this was a panel that I made a card, and I was not happy with the background or with the panel, so I scrapped what I was doing. I'm going to adjust my paper here. I scrapped what I was doing, and I went for a different looking card base. And hey Joe, and I wanted to save this for another project. You can find out how I created this on my YouTube channel if you look for a video that has some flowers from the Pansy Punch or flower shops. I think I actually have the card around here somewhere. Here it is. So this is what the card is that you're going to be looking for if you would like to see how I created this panel. And this is created with embossing paste that I colored, and I have Lots and lots of texture here, and I've tried to get a little bit of a ombre look. And having these flowers right here, it just wasn't floating my boat. I was not really happy with how it came out. So I chose to pull it up off of this card. You can see I still have sticky adhesive on there. And I just created a new card base with a little bit of background splatter. And there it goes. That's it. So now I have this card base that I want to definitely use, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to use it, but it would be in a different way. So if you can see that these flowers are actually stamped and embossed onto Wood Textures Designer Series paper. This is the reason why I felt the clash of, there's so much embossing here that the wood design on the flowers was just a little bit more than what would make me happy. So I wanted to save this card base, and it is a thick Whisper white card base, so that we can do something with it today. So I'm excited to finally be working on this card base and to have shared it with everyone so that we can see how this card base is going to get used. So I wanted to use a couple of stamp sets in particular with working with this. What I'm envisioning is to have a grouping of greenery and a sentiment in an icon fashion that is going to have complementary colors from the gray. And in complementary colors, I mean like opposite on the color wheel. So we want to have gray and some exciting, bold contrast colors. This is not so much what I went for with this, because in this project here, I wanted to feature the wooden flowers, the wood-looking flowers. So that was my number one focus. And in this card that I'm going to feature this card base, then my number one focus is actually going to be the card base and to really get it to pop. So I've done a very thick layer. If you can see any shadows on there, this is an extremely thick layer of embossing paste that's colored. And I have a complete how-to on the card. If you look for this card on my YouTube channel, you'll find out exactly how to create this card base. So to work in some of the greenery and the little icon elements, I'm going to do a little bit with a couple of different stamp sets. This is At Home With You stamp set, and it is in the annual catalog. And this is most famous for the door. The door opens and closes. It's a Christmas and an all-occasion stamp set, and I really like it. And I'm hoping to be able to use this more in the holiday season and in the fall season that's quickly approaching. This is really great for autumn. I like the image of the lamp. I've used that a few times. And there's a lot of different things to use with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this little topiary planter. And I want to have him as part of the sentiment. So I'll show you how we're going to get there. I have a piece of white cardstock that I cannot find. It has disappeared from me, so I'll grab another one. And I'm going to stamp my image with Archival Black Ink. There's a lot of controversy about Archival Black Ink because it does stain photopolymer stamps. But the benefits to using Archival ink far outweigh a stamp getting a little bit of stain on it. This was originally a completely clear image. However, when I've used it with archival ink, it stains the stamp. But I'll show you that there is no residual ink. See, there's nothing on here. So using the archival ink will get you a nice crisp image. And it's almost a necessity whenever you do any kind of watercoloring. But it does take a little bit to dry. So when you use it, make sure that you allow enough time for your images to dry before you go to it with a watercolor. So I'm going to stamp, and it comes out nice and crisp using the archival ink. So I could even have two. I'm just going to use one, but you can see that it's just a really nice ink. So this is the reason why I choose Archival Black over Memento Tuxedo Black for so many of my projects. Memento is a alcohol-friendly ink that is different from archival ink. And there's so many different inks that have different purposes that it's good to kind of have an idea of what ink you would like to use for what kind of project. So while I have the black, I'm going to stamp my sentiment and allow this image to dry before I start coloring it. It doesn't look like it's wet, but if I look and hold the paper just at an angle, I can see that this image is not dry yet. Patience is not always great when we are stamping, is it? So this image now I'm finished with, and I'm going to create my sentiment from Oh What Fun. This is a great stamp set. It's extremely versatile, and this stamp set keeps coming up in the catalog, and I'm so happy because this is one that is used for so many different ways of making cards. So I'm going to actually use a sentiment that says Happy Christmas today. And I've got it here on a clear block. Now mind you, I have some staining on this stamp that I've used it with red ink. I think it was real red. However, whenever I use this black archival ink, it will leave this black, and it will never be not black. So I'm okay with that because it's not going to be anything that transfers out to any other images after I clean my stamp. So to create my sentiment, I'm going to use one of my layering ovals. And I know you guys must have some sort of a method whenever you do some kind of die cuts and you have a spare. So how do you store your spare parts to your die cuts? Do you poke them down like I do, down into the die set, so that you can have them at whenever you're ready for them? Or do you have like a special container that you put them in? I'd really like to know how you guys store your die cuts that are spares. We could call them spare parts. And I'm just going to put those others right back inside there. I like to use my grid paper whenever I'm stamping because it does help me to get a nice straight image. You guys know I am a crooked stamper from way back. So we're going to get this all inked up. Now if you guys have any comments, I've seen one comment. So if you would like to ask any questions or make any comments or say hello, that would be very nice. So here is Happy Christmas from Oh What Fun. And now this is going to be stained stamp, but as I said, this is completely safe. It's okay. And this is also going to need to take a few minutes to dry. So it's nice to have a process to allow you in your card making to be able to do one thing and then allow a little time to dry and then maybe come back to it. So I'm going to test this image to see whether or not it's dry by turning it down to my grid paper and rubbing it, and if any of the ink comes off on my grid paper, yes, it did. It's not a lot, but it's enough for me to be able to know that I have an image that is not dry. I'm going to be using a little bit of the watercolor pencils on this, and I want my image to be completely dry. One way that we can help it along, and we may do that in a few minutes, is by using the heat gun on the low setting, and that will dry it up really nice. So for now, I'll go ahead and show you that I have pre-die cut some wild colored greenery. So this is Old Olive and Lemon Lime Twist. I was going for some colors that are going to have a high contrast but still look really well with the gray tones here in this card. And the greenery is actually from Pretty Pines Thinlits dies that is in the annual catalog. And there's 3 different sizes of palm, you can call them palm fronds or Christmas tree boughs. There's lots of different possibilities with this, and there are very unique dies with these pine cones as well. This is wonderful. This came out last Christmas and it carried over into the catalog. So I've cut these out in advance to save us some time. And we have here a small and a medium. I did not use the large. And I can put these together on either side of my sentiment. So I can imagine that they would go somewhere around here. Now, keeping in mind that I definitely don't want it to go off of my card base, because if this is going to be mailed, then I'll want this card base to fit inside of an envelope. And that's another thing that I try to keep in mind whenever I'm crafting for Christmas or for cards that are intended to be mailed, that we know it's going to be going in an envelope through the Postal Service. So if we create an incredible amount of dimension, then that's something that's not going to work for a pretty card whenever it is delivered. So I'm using this adhesive that's left over from whenever I used this card base a week or so ago, and it's still very sticky. So we'll have to find some ways to cover up all of the bits that I did not cover up yet, because I don't want this card to go out to anybody and still be sticky. So hello to those of you that have just joined. I'm happy that you're here. If you'd like to pop in and say hello, or if you would like to say who you are and where you're from, then I'd love to say hello back to you. I believe this is dry enough for me to add some dimensionals to it. So I have the tail end of a sheet of dimensionals. And I'll just apply this here. So this sheet of dimensionals is done. Are you guys getting ready for your Christmas projects? I have something exciting to share with you today, that I am going to have a new class, or you could call it a club, that is going to focus on making Christmas craft projects for gift giving. And it will start up next month in August. So I'm going to focus my gift giving this coming year on making Christmas ornaments. Now that stuck a little bit. So I've got all this glue that I'm going to have to cover up with something, but I would like to keep everything more down in this area. So this is not just a design challenge, this is a geographic challenge for this area in particular. So when you guys have this kind of a quandary, how do you approach being able to cover up an area that's not in your design idea? Do you have a special go-to? I'm going to test this image again and see if it's ready. Yeah, we're okay now. So here are the watercolor pencils. And I've got 3 colors out that I'm going to use: Old Olive, Real Red, and Basic Gray. And these colors look really nicely with the gray background. So keeping in tune with how this is supposed to go with the colors, I've used the Old Olive cardstock, and I'm going to use the Old Olive pencil. So that's going to help me be consistent. So how I'm going to color in the greenery on this pot is, it doesn't look like this image has an outline that needs to be colored in. So when that's the case, then I'm going to cover the greenery image kind of as an overlay and just fill it in. So now I just have the appearance of green without needing to have an open image to fill in inside the lines. This is still going to come off as green whenever it's on my card. And the baubles, I'll choose to make them red. Red is going to be the pop of color that is definitely going to complement the lemon lime twist and the Old Olive. When using the watercolor pencils, you can choose to either activate the color with water or not. So I'm going to carry the gray theme through the planter part, the little pot. And it doesn't have to be a special technique of coloring any of these images in, because I will activate it with my water brush. The one thing I do is I try to lay more color in for the areas that are going to be in shadows, and that way there will be a higher concentration of color whenever I activate it with my water brush. So this is regular Whisper White, and it's okay to use a small amount of water from the water brush, if I can find it. These are the things that you guys don't see whenever I edit my YouTube videos. It's not able to find something in particular that I'm looking for. What the water brush basically does is it melts the color and pushes it around by force, and the fluid actually pushes it around, and the brush. And this is, I'm not adding any pressure at all. And then I'm going to activate these little red ornaments, but I'm not going to activate the greenery because it's going to have a little bit more of a flooded effect if I do. I like the look of the pencil just the way it is. So we'll see if this helps take care of some of that area. So this is going to be cut with the Big Shot because I have a framelit that matches. So we have the at-home framelits dies. And this will cut out this image with just enough of a margin area, just right. So this image will be die cut. And through the magic of video, I have it die cut here. I created another one beforehand. That way we wouldn't have to worry about waiting on any die cutting. I had another element that I wanted to add, excuse me, but I decided that it was not going to work with what the color scheme was. So I'll show you that piece. I did do this little present, and I like the idea of having a present there, but I don't like the colors that I chose. I believe this is Bermuda Bay and Crushed Curry, and it just doesn't work well. It's not the yellow, it's the blue. It's just too much of a departure from what the rest of the color scheme is. So I thought maybe I would cover these up with sequins, but the blue still is going to carry too much of a distraction. So I will use that on something else, or I will give it to my youngest son, Nathaniel, and he'll play with it like it's a sticker, and he'll be happy as a clam. So we'll put this little guy away and focus on finishing up this card. So the glue comes all the way up here. So does anyone have an opinion on what I should put to come up here? I have an idea, and I don't think it's going to be surprising to you that it would be the mini sequin trim. This is my favorite accessory of the moment, and I'm using it on so many different projects. I can give it a double loop. It works almost just like ribbon. So if I give it a bit of a double loop, then I can see it sticking to the card. And I could bring it down through the bottom here. Pull this up. Okay, so I'll have this trim. I can give it another loop too. Let's try that. So many loops, it's like a roller coaster. And I have glue already underneath here that's still sticky that will help to hold everything in place. Hey, look at that. Okay, so let's continue to get really large with this. Up here, and then I can make sure to lay the ribbon down to where the shiny side is going to be up. Slide it underneath here. Okay. And bring it down around here to continue the design. I haven't seen any comments, so I want to try to reload my paper or my program and go back in. So if you guys have comments, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. I think this would look nice just as a single loop instead of all the double loop-de-loops. So I will pry this back up where the dimensional is, just enough to get this little sequin trim to stay underneath. Okay. Uh-oh, I put it upside down. Let me fix that. Here we are. So this is hanging as part of the design down here at the bottom. We have crazy loops up here at the top. And now we can work this little icon in somewhere. So we can go here and be that little pop of color down in the bottom, or somewhere up here at the top. Does anyone have an opinion on where they think it would like to go? I would love to hear what your thoughts are. It's this little topiary pot. At the bottom, Kathy? Okay, let's see. That does kind of bring the eye down, and it shows the ombre look up at the top. So I think definitely you are on the right track. So I'm going to use some of these little mini dimensionals. Have you guys tried the tiny dimensionals, the little minis? They are awesome. They fit just right in the smallest spaces. Yes, you're right, Kathy. It anchors the card. Anchors the design. So I'll put this to where it stays on the card base but not off. I'll use a little bit of glue to keep it down to the sentiment. Just enough. And I already had from the previous design some sequins here and here. And I think maybe it would be definitely worthwhile to add some more sequins here to keep the sentiment from looking a little too plain. So I'll use my paper piercer that I have added a glue dot on the end. That way I'm able to flip it over and use to help position. There we go. Love this fine tip glue pen. And these little mini trim sequins are flat and they will mail perfectly. So what do you think? How is that? There's a lot of bling on this card, but I don't feel like it competes with the background so much. Thanks, Kathy. I like how it's lighter up here, and that's going to be enough to draw the eye around. And bring it up here and back down here with all the elements in the design. Very nice. I think this card is done. It has just enough action happening, and it has just enough shiny, and we have the contrast with the green. It sticks to the design golden rule. There's enough happening on here to where it definitely is more appropriate than this icon was whenever I placed this icon here. So this is the beginning of what the card was, and it evolved into a Christmas card with the totally different color scheme, but I've kept in with how the icon of the sentiment is in the same area and the same basic shape. It has a nice bit of sparkle. I think this will be a nice Christmas card with the incredible amount of texture on it. So I would love to hear what you guys have your plans set on for Christmas card designs. And this is going to be an interesting Christmas season with the addition of the lemon lime twist. I'm seeing a lot of Christmas card ideas with lemon lime twist. So that will be interesting. It's not a color that I thought would come out for Christmas, and it's everywhere. So this is going to be very, very telling on how we're able to accomplish our designs. Well, thank you guys for joining me for this card demonstration. I appreciate you spending the time with me today. And I want to encourage you to go to my website at jennystampsup.com, and there is buttons all over the page that says Shop Now, and you can get any of the products that I've shown today, any of the products that I've used, and I would be honored to be your online demonstrator for any of your card making needs. I do have an exclusive Facebook group that I have only for my customers, and in that group we do tutorials that are catered just to what the person is asking for. So if you're one of my customers and you are not a member of the group yet, then please send me an email and I will make sure you get added to the group. That way you can ask for individualized custom tutorials and product features that are made put together just for you, because what you like is usually what other people like, and they would appreciate what your ideas are. So I look forward to you guys joining that group by being customers. And again, everything is available in my online shop at jennystampsup.com. So if you would like to do any comments after the video, then I'll be happy to answer them. And I look forward to seeing you next time. That's the inside of that card. And for how to create the background of this card, go over to my YouTube channel and have a look out for this card that will create this background. So thank you guys for joining me today and spending the time, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Trip. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.